Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I just failed like a 10-minute recording of this, so I'm not fiddling around. Spoilers. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Immortal Cave and Blogspot.ca as usual. Put a link to my blog in the description. I'm going to keep this very short because, like I said, I just failed a 10-minute recording of this because I just started rambling. I had a long day at work yesterday, so I'm a little tired. My brain's not quite 100%. So, how was this episode? How was Sleep No More? How was the first non-two-part episode this season? It was good. As long as you stick with the first half, as long as you just kind of go along with it, even despite some of the stupid crap you're going to hear or like you're going to start questioning, just stick with it. The second half explains it or makes it seem better. What do I mean? Well, the first thing that happens is excuse me, I'm going to take a drink right quick. My throat is killing me. Sorry about that. Okay. The first thing that happens is they kind of explain that this is going to be a found footage POV episode, kind of like a paranormal activity or a what's a better way of wording this? Like a paranormal activity or a Cloverfield or that type of thing uh, with this episode. Now, my first thought was, oh god, shaky cam, weird camera angles. This is going to just be very awkward. And it is, but at the same time, it does enough for it that I think it's okay, and they have a reason, like a good reason why it's POV. Now, follow me on this. They kind of explain that the creatures that are fighting in this are called Sandmen, right? So they're made of, and again, this is one of those points that it's going to make more sense in the second half, where they kind of explain that I'm moving around just because I'm a little uncomfortable. Excuse me. Um, it's a plot point where they kind of explain that these creatures are made out of effectively eye crud. Now, when I first heard that, I think my exact words were, okay, I'm not buying this. Like, this is silly even for Doctor Who. They do kind of go out and explain that there's a person in there, but they've kind of been mutated and warped into effectively a creature made out of eye crud, or mutated eye crud. Sleep dust, eye crud, whatever you want to call it. I call it eye crud. Now, admittedly, the one problem I have with it is the fact that, it's made out of eye crud, and these soldiers have guns. Pretty sure I could punch through eye crud. For God's sakes, when you move your hand and you clean it out of your eyes, like, it disintegrates. So, if you punch it, you should be fine. No, they shoot at it at one point and it just bounces off, which is bull long, but whatever. Which, by the way, if anybody who watches this episode, if you're now far more conscious of, like, eye crud, you're welcome, Doctor Who. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Doctor Who. I appreciate that. Again, if I'm not making much sense, long day yesterday. Anyway, yeah, they do kind of explain that it's mutated eye crud. It's not just, like, it's caused it to grow uncontrollably, because when you think about what eye crud is, that makes no goddamn sense. They kind of explain that it's more the person itself mutates into it, which is better. Not great, but it's better at least. As for the point of view thing, well, anybody who goes into these machines called the Morpheus machines end up kind of having this mutation in them. So while you're going through the episode and you're watching and you're just like, wait a minute, am I watching this from Clara's point of view? She doesn't have a helmet cam. That doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, you find out she was in one of the machines earlier. And, of course, that's why. Here's the problem. They kind of explain that going in the machine is what causes the mutation to occur. Now, Clara brings up, like, I was in that machine, am I going to turn into one of these things? And Doctor just kind of makes a thing out of, like, hand-wavium. My phone is ringing, if you can hear that. I'm going to call them back in a moment. So it just kind of makes a thing out of hand-wavium, and then, ta-da! I'm going to move my phone in case you can hear that. Just makes a thing out of hand-wavium, and just says, oh, we're going to fix that later. Which is one of the worst excuses ever. That really bothered me. And it's one of the worst parts. Phone, I'm going to get to you when I'm done. This is like the 5th time I've tried to record this. So that's my big problem with this episode, is that there's a bit of hand waving and there's a bit of plot problems. It's a very different episode, and I will applaud them for doing something different. But the problem is, the something different isn't. The something different isn't the problem. Because they actually explain why the POV is happening. That's brilliant, I think. That's actually very clever. The problem is, like, and at the end it kind of jumbles all together. Like, and then they kind of throw logic out the window for a creepy ending. Where the guy who was behind it all, which is the professor who was in the beginning, and they kind of explain, like, he's the one who's using, like, the eye points of the creatures, like the eye organs, the sight organs, whatever you want to call it, and has, like, dispersed them to the winds, and he's, like, got camera points wherever those points are, like eye crud floating in the air, or again in people's eyes who have used it. So he's getting, like, POV shots and camera shots where there are no cameras. I thought that was clever, and I think that if you probably would have been very amazed by that if you had picked up on it, instead of, like, how I was, which I was just like, this is bullshit. Why am I watching this from Clara's point of view? She doesn't have a camera. This is bullshit. Like, I'm in a very skippy mood. Skippy? I'm not even sure what that means. I'm in a very pissy mood, I think is the word. So I was kind of just like, I'm not drinking the lemonade until you give me a good reason. Okay, fine, that's a good enough reason in the second half. Like, that's the kind of the key point of this episode is there's enough to it to enjoy it, but let the first half go. The second half is what you want to go with. The second half is kind of what brings it together, for lack of a better term. So, there's that. What else is there? Again, this is the first non-2-part episode, which is a nice refresher, I think, personally, though. I think it was 2 weeks ago was Halloween. They could have moved this up before the Saigon episodes and had it on Halloween, and I think that would have been a lot more fitting. Like, I think that would have been a much more appropriate thing. Maybe they didn't plan it out that far, but that's just me. Or maybe there was, like, a plot reason. I didn't see one, but it wasn't that creepy. Like, I think it was Listen last year was fairly creepy. And obviously episodes like what was the season 6 one? Hide from season 8 was just, or season 7 was just meh. What was season 6's horror episode? It was the one with the dolls, that creepy rhyme. That actually freaked me out at one point. At the very end, where they're showing the doctor's death certificate, and the nursery rhyme actually comes around to mention the doctor. Like, when they cut that off, dead silence at the very end, I was actually just like, Jesus. It was kind of creepy, but not that much. It was more just me making Cloverfield jokes mentally. Like, the first shot of the monster, you just see, like, this kind of silhouette, like, roaring in the distance, and then everybody goes, run, and the camera moves. I was just kind of like, oh my god, it's the Cloverfield monster. They're gonna start throwing statues of liberty everywhere. Oh my god, run. Like, I was just making jokes in my head. Because I don't like found footage very much. It's too cheesy. But again, that's just my opinion. If you like it, that's fine. Like I said, though, it is a good episode. As long as you can kind of brush aside the weird little plot issues and stick with it past the first half. Because I was kind of calling bull on it. But anyway, next week we've got something about a raven. I can't remember the next episode. I know after that it's Heaven Sent and Hell Bent because that's just a really cool two-parter naming scheme. Um, but this this next episode, it brings back the guy, the worker from Flatline. If this episode is comparable to Flatline, I'll be happy as hell. That was one of my favorite episodes last season. Or period, for that matter. That was a really good episode. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you next week. I apologize if this was really rambly, weird, or whatever. Long day. It's been a long day. So I shall see you next week for something, whatever the hell the Raven, something Raven. I don't remember what the episode's called. Thank you very much. Goodbye.